In 2012, it's quite clear that all Australians value fairness and equality. This is a reform that is supported across the board from coast to coast. All Australians want to be able to celebrate the importance of marriage with their family, their community and their friends.
Marriage equality is fundamentally an issue of justice and fairness. It's about realising that whether you're in a heterosexual relationship or a same-sex relationship, or you have a gender-diverse relationship, you're entitled to the same recognition and respect by the state. And that's why fundamentally marriage equality matters, not only to gays and lesbians or trans or intersex or bisexual people, but to all our families and communities here in Australia.
To me personally, marriage equality means that my gay son is seen as a first-rate citizen, not a second-rate citizen, and I want him to have the same rights and choices as his straight brother.
What is the Senate inquiry and how effective will it be?
The Senate inquiry is a key political process that we have the opportunity to use to put forward the case for marriage equality. So every Australian who supports this reform has the opportunity to share their story, to share the reasons why they support marriage equality, to share the facts and figures behind our argument, and to refute the arguments that have been put up against marriage equality.
The Senate inquiry is basically going to be looking at Green Senator Sarah Hanson-Young's Marriage Equality Amendment Bill that was introduced in 2010. And this bill effectively would amend the definition of marriage to make it non-gender specific, and would also allow for the recognition of foreign same-sex marriages. Now, this is absolutely essential in terms of legislating for marriage equality. And the reason why this Senate inquiry will be effective is because it's canvassing for public opinion. And we know that consistently polls have highlighted that the majority of Australians support amending the Marriage Act to recognise same-sex couples. And we hope that by getting members of the community, of the public, to write in their own personal submissions to the Senate inquiry, that will be reflected and hopefully put pressure on the Parliament to legislate for this reform.
Having a Senate inquiry which is made up from people from the Liberal Party, the Labor Party and the Greens recommend this bill to their parliamentary colleagues will have a huge impact on the fate of marriage equality in Australia.
When you're writing your submission to the Senate inquiry, it's absolutely essential to tell your own personal story. I mean, why does marriage equality matter to you? It might not be because you're a gay or lesbian individual. It might be because your friend or family member is gay and you want them to be afforded the same rights, entitlements and recognition that you have. It might be that you have a sibling or a work colleague who is in a same-sex relationship and currently is denied the relationship recognition that you have. And so it's absolutely important that people, whoever they are, write in to the Senate inquiry, tell their stories, and to really highlight the fact that we live in a diverse civil society, that marriage is not an immutable religious institution, and that it is a dynamic institution and it evolves with community standards. And in Australia, we should be treating all couples, regardless of their sex, sexuality or gender identity, equally before the law.
It's really important that all Australians who support this reform make their voice heard. We know the other side of this debate is completely mobilised. They are making themselves heard. We know this will happen eventually, but we have to make it happen. And the way to do that is by sharing your story, the reasons why you support this, with this inquiry and through this process.
There are many members of Parliament who are undecided on the issue of marriage equality, mainly because they feel there hasn't been enough information or not enough public engagement on this issue. We hope the Senate inquiry will provide this opportunity for parliamentarians to recognise this is an issue that matters to many communities around Australia, and if enough people show their support on this issue, it will help shift political opinion in this country to make marriage equality a reality for all Australians.
How do you think marriage equality will improve Australian society's attitudes to homosexuality?
Well, I think it will improve it a lot because it will be saying to society that their relationships are now equal to the straight community. And I think that's very important because a lot of people are inclined to not value their relationships and they're seen as trivial because society also believes, or a lot of people believe, that their relationships don't last, which is not true. I mean, I know a lot of people who've been together 30, 40 years in a same-sex relationship, but they go into the suburbs and we don't see them anymore.
I think you look at families where gay kids are, and their lives are very separate from their parents' lives, where heterosexual kids often still have their life connected with their family, through barbecues and social engagements, where I think as the gay relationships become recognised, then those couples can stay with their family and engage, for the rest of their life more freely and openly.
So it's quite clear if you look at, if you talk to a gay person in the street, that they want to have access to this reform. Whether they choose to get married or not, there should not be laws that discriminate against us based on who we love. The University of Queensland did a study recently that showed 80% of people in a same-sex relationship would choose to get married if they had the option.
We know that when you have legislated forms of discrimination, it sends out a broader social message that those sorts of discrimination is legitimate in many ways. So, for example, if you have laws that discriminate against people on the basis of their sexual orientation, you send out a message that enables people who stigmatise gay or lesbian people as perverted or disordered. It allows people to discriminate against same-sex couples. It allows harassment and vilification on the streets or in homes. And if we're really committed to eliminating homophobia, harassment, vilification and discrimination, the law has to send a message that it's not tolerated, and what better way to do it than removing that discrimination from its existing systems.
If you have a look at the countries that have embraced marriage equality, you can see that it has had a huge impact on the acceptance of the GLBTI community. Support for marriage equality is always higher in countries that have it after they've legislated for it. And you can see that the communities have embraced it. If you have a look at Canada, for example, a gay person is treated exactly equally as a straight person, and that's in the marriage laws, but it's also in the general treatment of the society.
I think marriage equality is an important thing that will give, happiness and stability to a lot of people. And it hasn't made other Commonwealth countries or other international countries fall apart. It's just an evolution of modern society.
Yeah. And marriage it's about inclusion, it's about family. I mean, a lot of people say, why do they need to get married? Well, marriage is about, and the actual wedding and the ceremony and the piece of paper, it's about symbolism, and it's what it means to that couple. And as a family, it's important that James's partner, if and when they choose to marry, then he is seen as a son-in-law, just as my other straight son's partners will be seen as the daughter-in-law. And again, it's about brothers-in-laws and all this, and inclusion, and it's all about family, and that's what matters.